Imagine dancing to an irresistibly catchy hook, only to realize that the words are mourning and not celebrating. That's what Paramore's After Laughter delivers, a shimmering neon pop built on heartbreak and healing. We're peeling back on the immaculate 80s glitter of Paramore's After Laughter to reveal the cracks. Tracks born from breakup, burnout, and the push to stay colorful under pressure. Stick with me, and throughout the album, I'll tell you why the band almost broke up, the lawsuits they faced, and why Hayley Williams almost abandoned music altogether. The opening track of the album gives us a direct glimpse of what the whole record holds. A cheerful, poppy, and 80s disco-oriented happy sound that deep inside holds dark and gloomy lyrics of depression and anxiety. The track itself describes the depression that Hayley faced in 2016 due to personal issues, the struggles she faced with the band, rocky moments in her current relationship, as well as the grim realization of growing up. She told the New York Times that she channeled this dark energy into her music for After Laughter. She said that you can run from the fumes of being a teenager for as long as you want, but eventually, life hits you real hard. She also added that hard times are necessary for the appreciation of good times. As they say, you can't have the rainbow without the rain. She said that this is what you go through hard times for, so you can have these moments where you're proud of yourself, proud of your choices, and your friends. She has a public diary of her life, and she feels useful because of it. But there's one specific lyric I want to deep dive in this song, and it takes part in the first verse. She says, "All I want is a hole in the ground. You can tell me when it's alright for me to come out." This lyric will quickly send us to what was happening to Paramore in late 2015 and early 2016. After riding the wave of the extremely successful self-titled album, with hits such as Still Into You and Ain't It Fun, the longtime member and bassist Jeremy Davis left the band. Following his departure, he sued Hayley and Paramore over the rights of songwriting credits and royalties, arguing he co-wrote the songs of the album and had been unfairly excluded from the income. Davis believed that his contributions in the studio as well as the songwriting process were significant enough to grant him credit. But since his name didn't appear on the song, he wasn't receiving royalties, pushing him to take legal action. The dispute was eventually settled out of court in 2017, with both sides announcing that everything had been resolved privately. However, this discourse with her close friend left Hayley in a deep state of depression, where she didn't want to come out to the world and even considered leaving Paramore altogether. They were down another member, same old story, almost from day one. It made her question everything. Is she doing something wrong? She read things that people say about her and eventually she thinks, oh, I must be some kind of diva bitch. She knows that's not her, but it cost her a lot of self-doubt. Additionally, besides the band's struggles, Hayley was dealing with a failing relationship. She got engaged to Chad Gilbert from Newfound Glory in 2014, but announced her divorce just a few months after the release of After Laughter, leading us to believe that she was struggling with the relationship while writing the record. Looking back at the lyrics and her warning to hide in a hole, the downfall of her marriage and her divorce left her in a state where she didn't want to be seen. She told People magazine that she weighed approximately 91 pounds or 41 kilograms during those times. It wasn't until she saw the pictures that there was no hiding that she wasn't okay. And part of her enjoyed that. If people knew she was not okay, they won't get too close. These stories of the band breaking up, her personal relationships, and her depression will come out in the lyrics all throughout this album. But from the cry of survival in hard times, the awkward sunshine breaks through in the following track, Rose-Colored Boy. The title comes from the phrase, looking through rose-colored glasses, which is an expression that means to have an optimistic or positive outlook on something. In this song, this boy sees the bright side of life. He's very positive, and this seems to annoy Hayley because she's no longer like that. This is a stark contrast to Hayley's earlier outlook, as hinted in song titles such as For a Pessimist and Pretty Optimistic. Killing off what was left in the optimist in her implies that she has grown more mature and accepts certain negatives in life as they are. In the track, she mentions how she's no longer that naive and out-of-touch person with rose-colored glasses. Hayley is possibly more in touch with her emotions and in tune with her worldview, even if it's negative. She's aware of it, and she wants him to accept her as she is. This again is a clear nod to her depression. not only clearly seeing how her band had fallen apart, but how her marriage was not as perfect and rose-colored as she expected it to be. She told People magazine that she was in a very unhealthy relationship, and she just kept thinking, I can fix it this time. This clearly showing how she held on to rose-colored glasses for so long, until she eventually got rid of them. But this then leads us to Hayley being overly conscious on the mistakes that she could make in her life, as in Told You So, where she discusses struggling to face people who are simply waiting for her to fail. The central theme is built around the phrase, I hate to say, I told you so, which is typically said in a condescending, disapproving manner. Hayley said in an interview with Rocksound that 2 years ago she was ready to quit. She'd been through a lot personally. The band had been through a lot. And she doubted if she could write another record that she loved as much as their self-titled record. And she just thought, I've been stressing this for 13 years. I've been working my ass off for 13 years. Before I had a car, anything that was mine. The only thing that was mine was the music. She really felt like maybe it was time to hang it up and find out what other things she could be good at. Whether that was starting a family, doing hair dye, whatever it was. Her dad always said, if you're not happy, just hang it up. But she has been unhappy, and she didn't hang it up. And she's so glad she didn't. While Paramore was at its worst, crumbling from the departure of several band members, everyone told Hayley to quit and give up. But then, even though she was at rock bottom, she kept on hoping and she brought back Paramore. And Forgiveness yet again gives us a dual message, relating to Hayley's reconnection with her bandmates and the troublesome moments she had with her then husband. Just after a few months of releasing After Laughter, both Hayley and Chad posted a message to their respective Instagrams announcing their divorce. Throughout Forgiveness, Hayley doesn't feel ready to apologize after spending much thought on the several discussions and disagreements they might have had. Their relationship wasn't thriving, and Hayley was left meditating whether she should go back to pretending everything was alright. As we can clearly see, things didn't pan out how they wanted, and they eventually divorced. But on the other hand, the song can also reference her reconnection with Zac Farrell, who returned to the band for the recording of this album. Zac had originally left the band in 2010 after the release of Brand New Eyes. I did a whole video deconstructing that album, and you can check it out here. I'll also leave the link in the description. Anyway, Hayley told Fader that the song was about how difficult mercy can be. Sometimes you're not so much different from the person you were at 15, passive, aggressive, and a little oversensitive at times. Most probably referencing those early fights she had with her bandmates that led them to leave. But now, after some tough moments, they eventually reunited, even when they were not ready to forgive each other at the start. So Forgiveness lingers on the fractures of Hayley's closest relationships. But she eventually widens the lens, not only exposing the cracks in her personal life, but showing the mask she's forced to wear in public with fake happy. In the song, we see that under her bright, bubbly personality, she's deeply unhappy. It also serves as some kind of anthem, as Hayley believes she's not the only one who's feeling this way. Everybody, in one way or another, is faking their happiness. Throughout the lyrics, we can see that she has a different image of herself as to what fans think of her, a topic that will come yet again further down the line in songs such as Idol Worship. She told Beats One that she would go out and run into someone that they had seen on a show or someone with a Paramore shirt on, and she wasn't the same person that she was in the picture on that t-shirt. Maybe that was always just a weird reflection or even a projection. It made her feel sad, and it made her feel angry, because it made her feel sad that she couldn't be that, and it made her angry that anybody would expect her to be that. By the way, if you're enjoying the video, consider subscribing for more stuff like this. So riding on the idea of being someone else and showing the exhausting performance of pretending to be fine, we seem to get the antidote. The band takes us down to an honest, soft, unguarded and acoustic track about not losing hope and staying a dreamer. 26 is the loose conceptual opposite of Paramore's hit single Brick by Boring Brick from their album Brand New Eyes, a track where Hayley criticized dreamers that were not grounded in reality. As she has gotten older, she has become the person she sang about. Sonically speaking, this song is the most transparent on the album. is the one song where the emotions aren't covered by the poppy and dancey melody. Looking at both tracks side by side, we see that back in 2009, Hayley gave a word of advice. To base your dreams in reality, not to chase unreachable dreams. But now, at the age of 26, she has found herself chasing those same ideas. Those idealistic thoughts of having the perfect marriage, the perfect band, or the perfect life. Only to be brought down by the realization that it isn't all rose-colored. So after pouring her heart in 26, Hayley gives us the small glimpse that maybe dreams are still worth chasing. But hope, as we can soon hear, can be a dangerous thing. Because once she surrenders to love, it threatens to swallow her whole. And that's exactly where Pool takes us. Here, the band gives us a dark take on a love song. A song that ended up showing the dark, overwhelming side of love. Hayley uses the pool's water as a metaphor of the all-surrounding emotions she felt with her then husband. However, there's a dark side of love as it threatens to drown her, as she's overwhelmed by the uncertainties in the relationship, both present and future. There are too many uncertainties in this relationship, too many things she can't control. But she said to herself at the time that if they could only overcome those difficulties, she would continue loving him and allow herself to be immersed once again. Hayley was ready to give up on everything for her relationship at the time. She even told The Guardian that she wanted the whole thing, the family, and she thought she even might stop doing music for a while to do that. Give up the thing that was most precious to her. She uses this wave as a metaphor to represent how she couldn't stop herself from falling off her love. The wave of feelings took over her. And where Pool is heavy, uncertain, and full of doubts, Hayley shows us that while there are some relationships that drag us down, others lift us back up. She does so with Grudges, one of the easiest songs for Hayley to write. She said the lyrics came to her almost automatically, and she wanted to write some nostalgic lyrics about how Zach and herself could reconnect and restart their friendship over again after he left the band in 2010. In the pre-chorus, even though she feels it took so long, she now feels happy to have him by her side. Additionally, Zach provided backing vocals to the bridge of the song. Hayley stated that Grudges needed to happen so bad. She wanted to write about Zach, she just knew it. Somehow, that didn't paralyze her, it just happened. She sat up in her bed all day, singing to herself. But she just knew she wanted it to be about the band. She knew how good Zach's voice would sound on it because his voice is brilliant. And she just thought, man, I don't know if he'll do this, but if he would do this, it would be amazing. In the track, Hayley looks back with nostalgia, showing how time can heal all the wounds. However, more often than not, Hayley shifts from reflecting on the past to confronting the present, stuck between who she used to be and who she is becoming. In Caught in the Middle, Hayley is confronted with the concept of getting older. She has been in the band since she was a teenager, and now, reaching her 30s as of the release of the album, she shared the harsh feeling of seeing her years piling up. This was the first song recorded for the album, and the riff actually came to Taylor on a solo trip he did to Florida, where being alone just gave him an even harsher depression. The song itself sees Hayley being stuck in life and unable to move forward. She looks at herself with the band with a fainting heartbeat, as well as a crumbling relationship, and she's just unable to move forward. It shows how sometimes the simple act of moving forward in life is such a tedious task. And while in the track she's battling herself and the passage of time, sometimes the struggle isn't just internal anymore. It's about how others see her. As in Idol Worship, where she confronts how the image of others doesn't match the reality that she's living. This is a song about what it feels to hate yourself, to have a negative image of yourself, and then have people tell you the complete opposite and putting you on a pedestal. This is something not only Hayley but many other artists have faced in their careers. They have been put on a pedestal and become the heroes of so many people. But here Hayley feels she does not have the image of what the fans have of her. As I showed in Fake Happy, whenever she saw a fan with a Paramore t-shirt, she felt she could not fit that image that people have of her. Hayley told Track 7 she wouldn't say the era of Riot was as much inspiration for that song as the self-titled was. She was a superwoman who blissfully believed that all her best intentions were good enough to get her through any potential downfall that might be waiting for her. You can't prepare for life to drop the piano from the sky. It happens when it needs to. When she finally had some downtime, when they took nearly 3 years off, she had no distractions. No cape hanging in the wardrobe case. It was her and her bathroom mirror. No amount of selfies with fans was ever going to make her think that she was invincible ever again. It must be hard for a Paramore fan to hear that song, but people have to understand that she let herself down more than anyone else. She set herself up for failure. For starters, she lived in latex for those 2 years and looked like a damn superwoman. When depression hit her, she barely came out of her PJs. Writing Idol Worship was the beginning of her finding her voice again. And just as we're about to end the album, we seamlessly flow to No Friend, a spoken word song featuring Aaron Ways from the band Me Without You. This poetic outro references the band's turbulent history and constantly references the group's discography. As an important note, this is the first Paramore song not to feature Hayley as the main vocalist. But the band decides to end it all with Tell Me How. A slow-moving, laden track that discusses losing friends. As Hayley put it, when you die, does it matter whose fault something was? This most probably references her lost friendship with Jeremy Davis. Hayley finds herself at a crossroad, not knowing how to feel about the departure of Jeremy. Knowing he has been a close friend for so long, but now with his departure and the lawsuit, she doesn't know if she should keep holding on to him, even if it hurts, or if she should simply let go. However, the song and the album end on a positive note. I can still believe. Hayley hopes to make peace with all of the people and relationships she has lost in the past years. However, in closing the record, she's optimistic, not only for herself, but for the future of Paramore. So after Laughter closes with Hayley clinging to belief and Paramore finding a fragile sense of peace. But even before pressing play, the album artwork was already preparing us for that journey, framing the chaos, hope, and unique sound in one image. The artwork features an impossible trident optical illusion, a twist on Paramore's original rectangle with 3 bars logo. Originally, it is said that the 3 black bars in the center represent the 3 remaining members of the band: Hayley Williams, Jeremy Davis, and Taylor York, while the square around it represents the unity and their fanbase. All members got matching tattoos on August 2011 to represent their unity as a band. But the fact that this optical illusion drops down to 2 pillars might be a subtle nod onto how the band stood as a duo for a while, just when Jeremy Davis left. The artwork was designed by LA-based designer Scott Clary. It reflects on a new sound and direction for the band. Clary stated that they had some ideas around the 80s vibes of the record and a few visual references that they were feeling. He did the usual listen to the record, write, draw a bunch of stuff, and capture the idea of a landscape with colors, shapes, and textures would represent sounds and moments of the record. They were sold from the first concept, which is very rare, but just shows how they were all on the same page. Though After Laughter was inspired by some troublesome times, the band enjoyed great commercial success, and they even got closer after its release. However, the same can't be said about their third album. In Brand New Eyes, Hayley's lyrics left the band in shambles and eventually led to a really messy breakup. If you want to see more, check my video on that album here. Then, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like if you enjoyed this video. And as always, see you on the next one.